Chapter 1996. As soon as Luo Qingtong spoke, Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu couldn't take it anymore. He stomped his foot and charged towards Luo Qingtong. "Shut up, bitch! How dare you slander our Beast Tamer Valley?" Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu was furious. If he'd known that this bitch was so cunning, he wouldn't have thought of getting her to his side before torturing her. He should have done it directly. She wouldn't even have had a chance to speak. Let's see how she's going to slander us. Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu couldn't hold back his anger and charged towards Luo Qingtong. Seeing this, Yi Qinqian's eyes turned cold. The light under his sleeves was 70% contained and 30% ready to be released. He was about to wave it out. At this moment, Luo Qingtong pressed the back of his hand. "It's okay," she whispered into his ear. His gaze swept past the crowd gathered at the entrance to the land of the deceased immortals and looked towards a certain place behind them. Bang! As the beast-taming King Valley's Valley Master moved, an attack suddenly appeared in front of him, blocking his path and forcing him to retreat. Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu, why are you in such a hurry to make a move? Even if you want to silence her, isn't it a little too late now? Following this cold voice, a group of people walked in from the periphery of the land of the deceased immortals. This group of people was none other than the people from Celestial Palace and Star Alliance. The aura around the person walking at the front was vast and majestic. It was much stronger than the aura of everyone else present. He was surrounded by the aura of laws, and the blooming and dying of the 10,000 flowers seemed to be within it. He was the one who launched the attack just now. An exalted realm expert. Seeing the fluctuation of his aura, the people around him were all shocked. An exalted realm expert. This person's identity was obviously the Palace Master of Star Alliance. It's the Palace Master of Star Alliance. The Palace Master of Star Alliance actually came out in person this time. It seems that the treasures in the land of the deceased immortals are indeed coveted. Yes. The Palace Master of Star Alliance was sent by the Star Alliance to be in charge of guarding these continents. Normally, he wouldn't appear in the hidden world in order to better temper his strength and improve himself. He actually came out in person this time. Everyone looked at the Palace Master of Star Alliance in shock. Beside him was the Palace Master of Star Alliance's the Palace Master of Star Alliance. Everyone took a rough look and saw that there were no less than 10 peak holy venerables. There were dozens of them Exalted X as well. At this moment, he was respectfully following behind the Star Alliance Palace Master as he walked over. Beside them were the Celestial Palace's people who were flattering the Palace Master of Star Alliance. Luo Qingtong immediately winked at Yi Qianxian when she saw this group of people. "See, I told you it's fine. They just needed to watch the show." At this moment, the Palace Master of Celestial Palace was looking at the Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu, who was stopped by the Palace Master of Star Alliance. "Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu, your Beast Tamer King Valley probably didn't expect your lies to be exposed one day, right? Hand over our Celestial Palace's treasure map. We've already offered that to the Star Alliance's palace." Chapter 1997. Bullsh *T evidence in hand. When Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu heard this, he was so angry that he couldn't suppress the sweet and fishy taste in his throat and spat it out. He pointed at Luo Qingtong and shouted, "She framed our Beast Tamer Valley. Humph. Do you think we're all blind? You clearly recognized her identity, why didn't you say anything?" The Celestial Palace Lord sneered. Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu thought they were 3 years old. As soon as they arrived at the entrance, they heard them asking the people from the Heavenly Yuan sect for the person they wanted. They didn't mention that Luo Qingtong was Night Eye at all. If the other party didn't reveal her identity, they wouldn't know why they suddenly asked for a girl from the Sky Yuan sect. The Beast Taming King's Valley's trick was well executed. They probably thought that Luo Qingtong had shouldered all the crimes for the beast-taming King Valley's kindness in the past, so she wouldn't dare to reveal her identity. Who knew that the girl would throw caution to the wind? The Celestial Palace Lord sneered. Beast-tamer King Guguju was almost angered to death. He did hide that Luo Qingtong was Night Eye's identity, but it wasn't for the reason that the Celestial Palace Lord thought. This time, he really couldn't clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Beast-tamer King Guguju was so angry that he gasped for breath. At this time, the Star Alliance Temple Lord opened his mouth. Beast-tamer King Guguju, it's useless to say more. His voice was cold. The beast-taming King's Valley was clearly treating them like fools. Previously, he had the Star Alliance Temple Lord go to Beast-tamer Valley and ask them to make peace with Celestial Palace, giving him face. But the people of Beast-taming King's Valley kept saying that they didn't have any treasure map. At that time, he didn't have any evidence, so he couldn't do anything to the Beast-taming King's Valley. But now, since the people from Beast-taming King's Valley didn't have the treasure map, why would they go to such lengths to kill a young girl? And he still dared to say that he didn't kill him to silence him. He had heard of Night Eye before. He was indeed one of the disciples that the beast-tamer King Guguju valued greatly. In just a short period of time, she had changed from loving him to wanting to kill him. And it happened when the people of Celestial Palace were threatened and came to him for help. Who would believe that there was nothing fishy going on? The beast-taming King's Valley actually treated him like a fool. Then don't blame him for not giving them any face. Return the treasure map of the Celestial Palace. Otherwise, bang. As the Star Alliance Hall Master waved his sleeve, the entire mountain peak in the distance suddenly collapsed. From top to bottom, it was as if it had been flattened by an invisible force. Toppling mountains and overturning seas. Moving mountains and leveling the earth. It really happened in the blink of an eye. And there wasn't a single residue left on the huge mountain peak. It was as if it had completely disappeared into thin air. It was clearly turned into nothingness under the attack of the Star Alliance Hall Master. Seeing such strength, the surrounding people all sucked in a breath of air. And Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed, also looking at the Star Alliance Hall Master. The strength of the venerable realm actually had such power? Qianren, can you do it? Luo Qingtong pulled Yi Qianqian's sleeve and whispered to him. The man glanced at her. These words were simply an insult to his strength. The corners of Beiqing and Feng Yu's lips twitched as they listened. Chapter 1998. However, the barrier of this low-level continent was too weak. More than half of their strength was suppressed. They couldn't display their full strength here, otherwise, this continent's barrier wouldn't be able to withstand it. While Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian were whispering to each other, beast-tamer King Guguju was in an extremely difficult situation because of her. The Star Alliance Palace Master wanted him to hand over the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, but he didn't have this treasure map in his hands. If he was not wrong, the real map should be in Luo Qingtong's hands. But the most hateful thing was that bitch. So that no one would believe his words. Even if beast-tamer King Guguju said that the treasure map was in her hands and wanted to make a move on her, the Star Alliance Palace Master would have already made a move on him before he could do anything. Thinking of this, beast-tamer King Guguju's expression was extremely ugly. If he knew that Luo Qingtong would make such a false accusation, he definitely wouldn't have been greedy for the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals. He definitely would have exposed this woman's identity and made public what she did. Damn it. This time, he was really going to be screwed over by this bitch. The people of Sky Yuan sect also didn't expect such a turn of events and development. Sky Yuan sect master originally wanted to stop Luo Qingtong and stop her from stepping out. However, he was a step too late. After hearing Luo Qingtong expose her identity, he didn't say anything. The girl had her own plans, he could feel it. The Grand Dean and Bai Suqing were also very surprised. Especially the Grand Dean, his mouth was wide open. He didn't know that Luo Qingtong was the recently popular Night Eye. This girl, when did she become so popular in the hidden world? Moreover, she was so daring. One must know that the name Night Eye was very popular in the hidden world. Beast Tamer King Valley's people were looking for her everywhere. The people of the Celestial Palace also said that if they found her, they would not let her off easily. What Night Eye had done in the beast-taming King Valley was still the subject of gossip in the hidden world. This girl was doing so well in the hidden world that even he, the Supreme Dean, felt ashamed. As for Qintong, he clenched his teeth as he looked at the scene that was completely different from what he had expected. Bastard, Luo Qingtong is actually that Night Eye. He had pushed her out because he wanted her to be captured by the beast-taming King's Valley, but who would have thought that she would be fine? Why was this B*TCH so lucky? Just as Qintong's heart was filled with hatred, Fang Jingyu, whose smile froze on her face due to Luo Qingtong's sudden reversal, suddenly spoke. Night Eye. She coldly called out Luo Qingtong's name. This B*TCH had ruined her looks and crippled her body. Now, she even wanted to use the Star Alliance Palace and Celestial Palace to deal with them. How could she let her have her way? Even if Fang Jingyu were to throw caution to the wind, she wouldn't let her have an easy time. Don't you know why our beast-taming King's Valley is chasing you and hiding your identity? That's right. She looked at the Star Alliance Palace Master and said in a deep voice, that treasure map is indeed in our hands. The moment Fang Jingyu's words came out, beast-taming King Gu Guju was instantly enraged. Fang Jingyu, what nonsense are you talking about? Chapter 1999. He glared at Fang Jingyu angrily. The latter simply ignored him. She raised her hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong. But this woman took it away. As she said this, she suddenly lifted her head and looked at Luo Qingtong coldly. Night Eye, I dare to swear that our beast-taming King Valley doesn't have this map. Otherwise, I'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Do you dare to swear? Use the man next to you. Fang Jingyu pointed at Yi Qianxian sinisterly. This man was absolutely important to Luo Qingtong. She bet that the other party wouldn't use him to swear. Even if the map wasn't in Luo Qingtong's hands, it would still be the same. Of course, even if she took a step back, Luo Qingtong really did use this man to swear. Then, such a vicious oath should be enough for the other party to see the true colors of Luo Qingtong, right? Being able to destroy the relationship between the two of them made Fang Jingyu proud and excited more than anything else. What right did Luo Qingtong have to get something that she couldn't have? Fang Jingyu's mind kept replaying the scene of Yi Qianxian standing up for Luo Qingtong in the secret place in the back mountain. Luo Qingtong didn't deserve such a man. How about it? She looked at Luo Qingtong coldly and sneered. Luo Qingtong, Night Eye, do you dare to bet? Fang Jingyu's expression was aggressive. The Star Alliance Temple Master also looked at Luo Qingtong with a frown. Fang Jingyu had already made a heavenly oath, although he might not believe it. After all, the treasure map wasn't in the hands of beast-taming King Valley, but it didn't mean that they didn't have it. They could put it somewhere else or let someone else have it. But if Luo Qingtong didn't dare to swear, then it meant that there was something fishy about what she said before. Oh no, this evil doctor child. Looking at this scene, the Grand Supreme President was anxious. This move of Fang Jingyu's was too insidious. Asking Luo Qingtong to swear on Yi Qianxian, wasn't that forcing her to admit it regardless of whether what she said was true or not? This bastard's thoughts were too vicious. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she heard Fang Jingyu's words. For once, the other party wasn't stupid. She could tell how important Yi Qianxian was to her. That's right. If Luo Qingtong had to swear on her own life, she wouldn't have minded. But if she were to use Yi Qianxian, even if there was only the slightest possibility that it would come true, she would not gamble on it. That's enough. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. The smile on her lips was devilish and unbridled. It bloomed so enchantingly as she looked at Fang Jingyu. Luo Qingtong's expression was languid and indifferent. At the same time, there was a devilish and seductive smile. The way she looked at Fang Jingyu was completely different from before. This was the real evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Everything before was just an act. You've won this round. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she looked at the man beside her. She knew it wasn't good to have a weak spot. If she wasn't careful, she would lose the whole game. Luo Qingtong had never lost in such a matter. But it was also fortunate that this man was her weak spot and not someone else. You're the one who caused this mess for me. You'll have to clean it up for me later. Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian with a gloomy expression. If she had known that in the end, Yi Qianxian would still have to make a move, she wouldn't have wasted so much time with the people from Beast Taming King Valley. It was a waste of her saliva and expression. Chapter 2000. Yi Qianxian's expression was indifferent. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a faint smile, but when he looked at Fang Jingyu and the others, his eyes were full of coldness. He made a slight gesture under his sleeves. Bei Qing and Feng Yu understood and immediately began to send out signals to mobilize the experts of the black field outside. As for Fang Jingyu, after Luo Qingtong said that she had won this round, her heart was already wild with joy. Ha! Luo Qingtong, I knew you wouldn't dare to bet. She had indeed made the right bet. Luo Qingtong really didn't dare to swear on this man. However, Fang Jingyu still felt some regret in her heart. After all, Luo Qingtong didn't swear on Yi Qianxian, so she couldn't drive a wedge between the two of them. But it didn't matter, Luo Qingtong's death was the same. Thinking so, Fang Jingyu suddenly smiled proudly and proudly. That smile was full of malice. So, you're admitting that everything you said before was a lie? That's right. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She crossed her arms and looked at Fang Jingyu in front of her, the corners of her mouth raised slightly, and her tone was indescribably casual. I did deliberately frame your Beast Taming King Valley. As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the surrounding crowd instantly went into an uproar. Luo Qingtong deliberately framed Beast Taming King Valley. Did that mean that the Beast Taming King Valley's Valley Master was telling the truth? She deliberately sneaked into Beast Taming King Valley, gained their trust, and then turned Beast Taming King Valley upside down, and then went to Celestial Palace to frame Beast Taming King Valley. All of this was done by her. Everyone felt a burst of disbelief in their hearts. How old was Luo Qingtong? And her strength, everyone looked at the aura rippling from Luo Qingtong's body. She was clearly in the Saint King realm. How did she manage to do that? Everyone's expression was shocked. Beast Taming King Guguju also reacted at this time. Ha! Bitch, you finally admitted it. Beast Taming King Guguju's heart was indescribably proud and elated. This be *tch. She had plotted against him to the point where he couldn't even defend himself. Now, she finally admitted that she was the one who framed the Beast Taming King's Valley. Beast Taming King Gu was hard excited. Jingyu, well done. He laughed loudly. Then, he looked at Luo Qingtong ferociously and asked, not only did you frame us, but you also have the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, right? The Beast Taming King Valley Master's face darkened. He had been the scapegoat for so long, and now the truth of the matter was finally going to be revealed. Yes. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up. She nodded. The treasure map is indeed in my hands. Luo Qingtong knew that after she admitted to framing Beast Taming King Valley, the whereabouts of the treasure map could not be hidden. Therefore, she did not deny it. Everyone's eyes widened when they heard this. Oh my God, the Grand Dean was shocked by the development of this series of events. Luo Qingtong was not only night-eye. Moreover, everything she had said before was actually a lie. She framed Beast Taming King Valley. Not only that, the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, which everyone coveted, was in her hands. Oh my God! Was this evil doctor's words true or false? Did she deliberately admit these things to avoid swearing on Yi Qianming? Chapter 2001. While everyone was still in shock, the palace master of Celestial Palace opened his mouth. You mean to say that you killed all of us from the Celestial Palace? Were you the one who snatched the treasure map? His face was as dark as water. If all of this was done by Luo Qingtong, then what did they, the people of Celestial Palace, miss out on? If they had known earlier, they would have kept the girl when she came to deliver the treasure to frame Beast Taming Valley. Then there wouldn't have been so much trouble. As for that treasure map, it could only be enjoyed by the Supreme Celestial Palace. Thinking of this, the palace master of Celestial Palace was vexed and unable to control himself. It was as if he was about to be drowned by the tide. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a dark expression. The latter only looked at him with a light smile. That's right. Luo Qingtong nodded. I killed all of you from Celestial Palace, including Elder Xia and the 3 disciples and protectors you sent later. As soon as Luo Qingtong said this, the palace master of Celestial Palace's expression became incomparably ferocious. Luo Qingtong's words confirmed that she had indeed killed the people of Celestial Palace. Otherwise, she wouldn't have known the number of people they sent later like the back of her hand. Bitch, it really was you. The palace master of Celestial Palace's expression was ugly. He had never thought that he would be fooled by a young girl. The other party was playing with the people of Celestial Palace and Beast Taming Valley like monkeys. This was simply unbearable. Hand over the treasure map. Otherwise, you'll die without a burial place. He shouted angrily, looking at Luo Qingtong with eyes full of murderous intent. Obviously, even if Luo Qingtong handed over the treasure map, he wouldn't let her go. Being toyed with like a fool was a great humiliation. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong forced them to announce the treasure map to the public and even promised to give it to the Palace Master of Star Alliance. One must know that they could have taken the treasure map for themselves. The Palace Master of Celestial Palace's heart was bleeding. The people of Beast Taming Valley were also closing in on Luo Qingtong coldly. Not for anything else, but the fact that the other party had played and framed them, and even spied on the secrets of Beast Taming Valley. Now that the truth was out, they had to kill Luo Qingtong. Seeing the two sects closing in on Luo Qingtong, the Grand Supreme Dean's heart pounded rapidly. What do we do? Why is this evil doctor's brain so slow now? If you don't want to swear, then don't. Why do you admit to these things? Just don't confess to die. We're finished. The Grand Dean was so anxious that he was fuming. Both sects wanted to kill Luo Qingtong. Especially with the Star Alliance behind Celestial Palace. We're finished. Even if the Sky Yuan sect intervened, they wouldn't be able to help her. The Grand Dean was so anxious that he was on fire. Su Yu and the others were also in an uproar. However, looking at Yi Qianming beside Luo Qingtong, their hearts calmed down. Luo Qingtong never did things that she wasn't sure of. They believed in their master. What's more, Ming Zun's identity was extraordinary and he was powerful. He would never let anything happen to their master. As long as Luo Qingtong was fine, they had nothing to fear. Everyone thought so and immediately suppressed the worry in their hearts, as well as the urge to rush out. Chapter 2002. Boom. The black fog that enveloped the land of the fallen immortals behind them suddenly began to tumble. As the last wave of aura erupted from the land of the fallen immortals, a vast and violent power surged out from the land of the fallen immortals. Then, the power of the aura dropped to the lowest point. The aura of the entire land of the fallen immortals was almost gone. The land of the fallen immortals opened. Swoosh! The aura of the land of the fallen immortals surged. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. She looked at the people from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace who were closing in on her. Her lips curled up, and she held the man's face and kissed him on the lips. "Wait for me to come back." As she spoke, she leaped into the air. Her laughter was like a silver bell that reverberated in the air. "People from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace, I'll be leaving first. You don't have to see me off." As she spoke, Luo Qingtong's figure instantly rushed toward the aura of the land of the fallen immortals. In an instant, she disappeared from everyone's sight. "Damn it, go after her." Beast-Taming King Guguju and the others were furious. No one expected the aura of the land of the fallen immortals to suddenly weaken at this moment. This gave Luo Qingtong an opportunity to take advantage of it. "Bastard!" The group chased after her into the land of the fallen immortals. When the people from the hidden world saw the land of the fallen immortals open, they couldn't be bothered to watch the show anymore. They all rushed toward the land of the fallen immortals. The land of the fallen immortals opened for a limited time each time. They couldn't waste time for nothing. It would be troublesome if someone else took the initiative. The group rushed toward the land of the fallen immortals, blocking the people from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace from chasing after Luo Qingtong. The latter and the others were flustered and exasperated. "Get out of my way." Beast-Tamer King Guguju, Supreme Elder, Celestial Palace Master, and the others all released their auras, shaking off the people around them and chasing after Luo Qingtong. When the Grand Supreme Dean and Baisuqing saw this, they immediately led the people from the Sky Yuan sect and rushed towards them. "Hey hey hey! Make way! The land of the fallen immortals is not owned by your two families. Don't be so overbearing." The Grand Supreme Dean put on an act and led the people of the Sky Yuan sect to block the path of the Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the Grand Supreme Elder. When the Sky Yuan sect master and the others saw this, the corners of their lips twitched. When they thought of Luo Qingtong's ability, they immediately rushed in the direction of the Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the Grand Supreme Elder, blocking the people from Celestial Palace. When the group of people made such a scene, the Beast-Tamer King Guguju, the Grand Supreme Dean, and the Celestial Palace Master lost the initiative. "Bastard!" When they rushed into the land of the fallen immortals and did not see Luo Qingtong, the Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master were so angry that they gritted their teeth. "Did you people from the Sky Yuan sect do this on purpose?" They looked at the Sky Yuan sect master and the others angrily. "Hey, how can you talk like that? What did we do on purpose?" The Grand Supreme Dean said seriously, "We also want to enter the land of the fallen immortals. Are you the only ones allowed to enter?" What a joke. The Grand Supreme Dean sneered at them, which made the Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master furious. Chapter 2003. On the outskirts of the land of the deceased immortals, Yi Qianxian was prepared to help Luo Qingtong block the people from Beast-Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace. However, before he could do anything, the Grand Dean and the others had already rushed forward. Seeing the people from the Sky Yuan sect make a move, he raised his eyebrows and dispersed the attack he had been accumulating. "Wait for her return." Yi Qianxian watched Luo Qingtong's figure disappear into the land of the deceased immortals. He raised his hand and touched his lips, the corners of his lips curling up slightly. Of course he would wait for her return. If he couldn't wait for her return, he would tear down the entire land of the deceased immortals. Bring her back. Yi Qianqian's eyes were cold as he looked at the sky above the center of the land of the deceased immortals. The wailing and howling of ghosts and wolves could be heard as the consciousness of the extraterritorial powerhouses gathered there. In the direction of the Star Alliance Palace, the Star Alliance Palace Master's eyes were cold as he watched Luo Qingtong's figure disappear into the hidden world. There was something strange about this girl. The last burst of aura in the land of the deceased immortals was extremely violent and ferocious. Even he couldn't easily approach that place at that time, let alone enter it directly. But that girl was able to avoid those auras and enter the land of the deceased immortals. However, no matter how strange she was, the treasures in the land of the deceased immortals could only be his. The Star Alliance Palace Master's eyes burned with passion as he thought of all the rumors and secrets about the land of the deceased immortals. He looked in the direction of the land of the deceased immortals and coldly shouted, "Order everyone in the Star Alliance Palace to surround this place." When the land of the deceased immortals opened in the past, no one had a treasure map, let alone take the treasure from the center of the land of the deceased immortals. But this time, a treasure map had appeared. There was a high chance that the treasure in the center would be taken out by someone. He couldn't miss this opportunity. No matter who obtained the treasure, in the end, it would only fall into his hands. After the Star Alliance Hall Master gave the order, the members of the Star Alliance Hall immediately took action. Master Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others looked at Yi Qianxian. A group of experts from the Black Field had been gathered outside the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals. Should they all come in and clean up the Star Alliance Hall? Ignore them. Yi Qianqian's gaze was cold. For the time being, there was no need to alert the enemy. Purging the members of the Star Alliance Hall would most likely alert the Star Alliance. Luo Qingtong was in the land of the deceased immortals. Yi Qianxian was not in the mood to deal with other people, nor did he want to expose his identity at this time. Everything would have to wait until Luo Qingtong came back. Yes. Beiqing, Fengyu, and the others heard the order and immediately gestured to the experts from the Black Field, who had already approached the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals, to retreat. After receiving the order, the latter and the others immediately retreated silently and quickly left this place. Their movements were fast and silent. The members of the Star Alliance Hall did not sense anything wrong. Swoosh! In the land of the deceased immortals, Luo Qingtong's figure flitted quickly. The fog around her was thick. This dark fog was so thick that one could not see their fingers in front of their face. Moreover, it was extremely corrosive. But at this moment, the aura in the land of the deceased immortals had weakened. The dark black fog had also become much lighter. Chapter 2004. However, it was still very dangerous in the land of the deceased immortals at such a distance. Because if they encountered any sudden danger, such a short distance was not enough for the cultivators to dodge. However, this was not a problem for Luo Qingtong at all. The blood-red pupils in her eyes opened. In an instant, the surroundings of the land of the deceased immortals appeared in her eyes in a special 3D form amidst the flickering enchanting blood-red light. The surrounding black fog, which even the divine consciousness of a holy venerable could not penetrate, was completely visible to her at a glance. It was not an obstacle at all. Luo Qingtong's figure moved quickly in the thick fog. At this moment, swoosh! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the front. Then, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. "Evil doctor, why are you here? Quick, come with me." The figure who suddenly appeared looked very anxious. That face belonged to the Grand Supreme Dean. After he said those words, he raised his hand to grab Luo Qingtong's hand. Luo Qingtong looked at his hand and narrowed her eyes slightly. She looked at the Grand Supreme Dean and smiled. "All right, Grand Supreme Dean, let's go." As she spoke, she took the initiative to extend her hand to him. Slap! Just as the Grand Supreme Dean was about to grab Luo Qingtong's wrist, the girl turned her wrist and grabbed his hand. At the same time, Luo Qingtong's other hand was holding the life and death yin-yang sword. She raised her hand and blocked in front of her. Clang! The sound of metal hitting metal was heard. In front of Luo Qingtong's chest, an extremely sharp hand with 4 to 5 feet long fingernails and covered with blood-red hair was blocked by the life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand. The blood-red fingernails on the hand hit the life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand hard, causing the black and white long sword to bend backward. Then, with a boom, Luo Qingtong's aura erupted. In an instant, the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand erupted with an extremely powerful force. A pure white light was already brewing in the long sword when Luo Qingtong raised her hand to block in front of her. At this moment, it fiercely slashed at the blood-red figure who kept screaming in front of her. At this moment, the Grand Supreme Dean was nowhere to be seen in front of Luo Qingtong. There was only a highly decomposed corpse. The corpse was covered with livor mortis spots and blood-red hair. Looking at the clothes on its body, it was obviously a member of the sects in the hidden world that had entered the land of the deceased immortals. At this moment, it was screaming sharply, trying to dodge Luo Qingtong's attack. However, one of its hands was grabbed by Luo Qingtong, and the other hand was blocked by Luo Qingtong just now. There was no way for it to dodge or resist. Bang! Luo Qingtong's attack hit its body hard. Annihilation. Following Luo Qingtong's voice, the blood-red corpse suddenly screamed and was split in half by Luo Qingtong's attack. However, just as the corpse was split in half, an invisible blood-red figure suddenly rushed out from it. Screech. Chapter 2005. Then, a tyrannical wave of psychic power fiercely pierced Luo Qingtong's mind like a steel needle. At the same time, the illusory crimson figure pounced on her. A psychic attack. Sensing the tyrannical wave of psychic power piercing her mind, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. She was about to mobilize the psychic power in her mind. At this moment, the psychic power that pierced her mind was shattered with a bang. Little Pig's groaning voice rang out. How dare any Tom, Dick, and Harry challenge my authority? Don't you know that your Grandpa Pig isn't a vegetarian? In Luo Qingtong's mind, the tyrannical psychic power that pierced her mind was like a small stream that was swept into the waves of the ocean. It was powerlessly devoured by an even more violent and vast psychic power. That was the tyrannical willpower of Little Pig's body. His strength was sealed, but his psychic power and willpower were still there. Luo Qingtong's mind was his territory. Whoever attacked her would die. Bang! The psychic power attack launched by the illusory crimson figure was shattered. At the same time, the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's hand changed its form in an instant. It directly struck the illusory crimson figure in front of her with a death blade annihilation. Screech! Under the attack of Luo Qingtong's death blade, the illusory crimson figure shrieked sharply. Then, with a bang, it turned into ashes. At the same time, in a place not far from Luo Qingtong, there was a loud bang. The ground exploded, and dark red blood gushed out. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. She leaped over and waved the life and death sword in her hand. With a flick of the sword, she picked up the object under the dark red blood. Immortal jade bone. Luo Qingtong looked at the object that she had picked up with a surprised expression. She raised her hand and held the immortal jade bone in her hand. This immortal jade bone was completely different from the immortal jade bones she had seen before. This immortal jade bone was blood red in color. It was dark red in color, and blood was still gushing out of it. Not only that, but the dark gray aura lingering around it was also very dense, almost black. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows as she looked at the immortal jade bone. Was it behind the bloody figure just now? Blood immortal jade bone. It seems that the blood-red figure just now was created by it. At this moment, Little Pig appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. Its 4 little hooves stepped on Luo Qingtong's shoulders, and one of its little hooves poked the immortal jade bone. The situation in the land of the fallen immortals is special. There are countless amounts of deathly qi inside. These immortal jade bones contain the will of countless foreign experts. It's not strange for them to be nourished and take form under such circumstances. That corpse was probably controlled by it. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded. That was what she thought too. The Heavenly Yuan sect's records about the land of the fallen immortals also mentioned this kind of corpse attack. Generally, when a sect's team encountered such a situation, almost no one survived. Only extremely powerful experts would be able to escape by luck. Chapter 2006. Luo Qingtong noticed that the blood-colored figure that had rushed out after being split open by her had been completely illusory. If she hadn't had the blood eye, she wouldn't have been able to see it. If the other sects in the hidden world encountered this blood-colored figure, they probably wouldn't even know of its existence, let alone kill it. So no one had discovered the existence of this blood-colored immortal jade bone all this time. Luo Qingtong immediately sized up this blood-colored immortal jade bone as she pondered this. She discovered that the power within it was much more vigorous and dense than that of ordinary immortal jade bones. This immortal jade bone was clearly of Saint King quality, but it seemed to have the aura of a Saint Emperor's strength. Could the ancient heavenly spirit would purify the aura within this blood-colored immortal jade bone? As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she immediately opened the useless ring in her hand. Swoosh! As soon as Luo Qingtong opened the trash ring in her hand, the ancient heavenly spirit wood's leaves impatiently swept out and swept up the blood-colored immortal jade bone. Buzz buzz buzz. As the blood-colored immortal jade bone was swept up, it suddenly trembled violently. Clearly, there was indeed some consciousness left within it. The blood-colored figure just now had been conjured by it. This blood-colored immortal jade bone kept trembling under the ancient heavenly spirit wood's aura. It was obvious that it was trying to resist something. However, the ancient heavenly spirit wood fed on the power of soul intent. Its resistance was completely useless as it was swept up by the ancient heavenly spirit wood in an instant. Then, the ancient heavenly spirit wood absorbed a dark gray aura that was almost black. Soon, the aura within the blood-colored immortal jade bone became incomparably pure and clear. It was even overflowing with rich blood energy. This aura was naturally the blood energy of the cultivators that the figure conjured by the blood-colored immortal jade bone had killed. This blood energy could increase a cultivator's combat strength. It was the existence of this blood energy that allowed this Saint King blood-colored immortal jade bone to possess the aura of a Saint Emperor. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. She knew that in the land of the fallen immortals, immortal jade bones above the Saint King realm were not easy to come by. Furthermore, it was only when the immortal jade bones were spat out that everyone would be able to obtain them. In the land of the fallen immortals, one would have to rely on luck to obtain them. The place with the most immortal jade bones was the center of the fallen immortal land. That was where the great battle had broken out. However, no one dared to approach that place, let alone enter to search for the immortal jade bones. Before Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed, she had made an agreement with the people of the Heaven Yuan sect to go with them to the forbidden area to search for the immortal jade bone and help purify it. Now that her identity was exposed, there was no follow-up for the time being. But no matter what, Luo Qingtong had to enter the forbidden area to take a look. If she guessed correctly, the treasure map was pointing to the center of the forbidden area. However, it was not suitable for her to go there yet. Firstly, he wasn't strong enough. Secondly, the aura fluctuations in the forbidden zone were the strongest. Even if he was going to weaken, it wouldn't be so fast. He couldn't go inside for the time being. He had to wait at least 7 or 8 days after the land of the fallen immortals opened before he could enter. Therefore, Luo Qingtong wasn't in a hurry for the time being. Holding the Saint King Realm blood-colored immortal jade bone in her hand, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She was going to find a place to improve her strength first. The power of this blood-colored immortal jade bone was enough for her to reach the Saint Emperor realm. Chapter 2007. She's here. I see her. Following this voice, with a swoosh, a group of figures suddenly appeared behind Luo Qingtong and surrounded her. Luo Qingtong, you can't run now, can you? Luo Qingtong raised an eyebrow when she heard the voice. Fong Jingyu. She looked at the group of people in front of her. Apart from Fong Jingyu, the rest were all from Celestial Palace. They were all around the Holy Emperor realm. Standing with Fong Jingyu was a Celestial Palace elder, who was a Holy Emperor. At this moment, Fong Jingyu was standing beside him, gritting her teeth as she looked at Luo Qingtong. The light in her eyes was both smug and venomous. Luo Qingtong, do you think you've escaped from us? Unfortunately, you won't be able to. She sneered at the rays of light that surrounded Luo Qingtong. Those were the rays of light that the people of Beast Tamer Valley could only see after they cultivated a special technique. In the entire Beast Taming King's Valley, only the upper echelons were qualified to practice this technique. And Fong Jingyu was one of those people who had the qualifications to cultivate. When Luo Qingtong had rushed into the land of the deceased immortals, most of the people from Celestial Palace and Beast Tamer Valley had been stopped. Among them, those from Beast Tamer Valley had been the most closely watched. Because Fong Jingyu was disabled and disfigured, she hadn't been noticed. She had followed closely behind Luo Qingtong into the land of the deceased immortals. A group of people from Celestial Palace had also chased her into the land of the deceased immortals. However, the moment they entered the land of the deceased immortals, they lost sight of Luo Qingtong. But Fong Jingyu could see her. She immediately ordered the people from Celestial Palace to lead her in the direction of Luo Qingtong. Because they had caught up in time, Luo Qingtong hadn't shaken them off. However, the more they chased, the more frightened they became. Luo Qingtong's ability was too shocking. She was completely unaffected by the fog in the land of the deceased immortals. The people from Celestial Palace had been carefully following Luo Qingtong from a distance at first, but when they realized that the girl was moving faster and faster, they were about to go crazy. They took a risk and increased their speed, only to find that there really wasn't any obstruction in the girl's direction. They moved forward according to Fong Jingyu's instructions and followed the path that Luo Qingtong took. They did not encounter any obstacles at all. Even so, the distance between them and Luo Qingtong was gradually increasing. If the girl hadn't suddenly stopped here, they probably wouldn't have been able to catch up with Luo Qingtong and could only watch her leave. Luo Qingtong. The Celestial Palace elder looked in Luo Qingtong's direction with a greedy expression and said coldly, "Hand over the map in your hands. And tell us how you managed to enter the land of the deceased immortals as if there was no one around. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll make sure you die a horrible death." His face was cold and gloomy. His eyes roamed greedily over Luo Qingtong's body. All of a sudden, his eyes narrowed. This is... He looked in shock at the blood-colored celestial jade bone in Luo Qingtong's hand. Chapter 2008. The aura of this immortal jade bone is actually pure and untainted. His face was filled with ecstasy. This Celestial Palace elder had never seen an immortal jade bone in such a form. The immortal jade bones they had obtained before were all in a muddy state. However, the immortal jade bone in Luo Qingtong's hand was pure and rich, and its color was crystal clear. Even though he had never personally experienced the power of this immortal jade bone, he could still feel it. It could be refined and absorbed by humans. What did this mean? It meant that Luo Qingtong had found a place, or rather, a way to obtain such a pure immortal jade bone. Thinking that Luo Qingtong had suddenly stayed here for such a long time, this celestial palace elder confirmed his conjecture. At this moment, a protector of the celestial supreme palace suddenly shouted. "Elder, look, this is a bloody corpse." He looked in shock at the blood-colored corpse that had been split in half not far from Luo Qingtong and raised his hand to point at it. Following his finger, the crowd of celestial palace people was suddenly indescribably shocked. The bloody corpse was naturally what they called it in Celestial Palace. In the land of the deceased immortals, the various sects had different names for this bloody corpse. However, one thing was certain, this bloody corpse was very difficult to deal with. No one knew how this bloody corpse was formed, but it could ignore ordinary physical attacks. Even if it was split in half, it could still attack and cause the cultivators present to die tragically. Everyone in the sects of the hidden world knew that the most difficult time to deal with a bloody corpse was not when its body was in perfect condition. Instead, it was when its body was split in half. At that time, all kinds of invisible and formless attacks were the most frightening. Moreover, it could also possess and control a person's body. Many people didn't even know how they died when faced with a bloody corpse. Generally speaking, when encountering such a thing, one could only run. But at this moment, not far from Luo Qingtong, there was a bloody corpse lying on the ground. As for her, she was completely unharmed. "Did you kill this bloody corpse?" The Celestial Palace elder looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise, then looked at the blood-colored celestial jade bone in her hand. He was overjoyed. "Ha! I didn't know that I could obtain such a pure-blood immortal jade bone after killing a blood corpse." The elder of the Celestial Palace raised his head and laughed. He didn't think that with Luo Qingtong's strength, she would be able to kill this zombie. The only explanation was that Luo Qingtong had discovered a weakness of the zombie and was able to kill it without leaving a trace. Ha ha ha. Good, good, good. He laughed loudly. No one knows about this yet, but we're going to be rich. The Celestial Palace elder was very pleased with himself. He naturally knew what this piece of news meant. Once they got hold of this secret, their status in the Celestial Palace, and even in the hidden world, would rise. When that time came, they would definitely be able to obtain great benefits. As he thought about this, he looked at Luo Qingtong with even more desire. "Luo Qingtong, be a good girl and tell us everything you know. Perhaps we can consider leaving you with an intact corpse." Chapter 2009. As soon as he spoke, Fang Jingyu's cold laughter rang in his ears. She got off easy this time. As Fang Jingyu spoke, she glared at Luo Qingtong with a cold and vicious gaze. Her heart was filled with jealousy. Previously, she thought she was about to lose Luo Qingtong. Why did she have so many trump cards and abilities? She had so many of them. Even in the land of the deceased immortals, she was different from others. Fang Jingyu was jealous. She was so jealous that Luo Qingtong was going crazy. Even as the daughter of the beast tamer king, Gu Guzhu, she didn't live as carefree and unrestrained as Luo Qingtong. The other party had faced the people of the two great sects alone, and after offending them, he had left in a carefree manner, calm and collected. How could she live so carefree and unrestrained? She was supposed to be the favored daughter of the heavens. The person who lived so proudly and willfully. Fang Jingyu's gaze was sinister. She looked at Luo Qingtong. Her gaze was like the spitting of a venomous snake. It was extremely vicious and ruthless. If she refuses to speak, then we'll tie her up in the land of the deceased immortals. You should know that once one loses the protection of the immortal jade bone in the land of the deceased immortals, they'll become walking corpses. Luo Qingtong, tell me, what if I make them take an aphrodisiac before they die? What do you think will happen to you? Fang Jingyu looked at Luo Qingtong with a sinister smile. Of course, even if Luo Qingtong told her, she would still deal with her in the same way. She would never tell Luo Qingtong this. How could she let Luo Qingtong off so easily? Luo Qingtong could only wait for her miserable death. Only by watching Luo Qingtong being ravaged by those corpses would she be able to vent the hatred in her heart. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows at Fang Jingyu when she heard her words. Little Pig, who was beside her, also jumped up at this moment. F***ck, isn't this woman's mind too sinister? Look at how ugly and crippled she is. No wonder she's a pervert. Little Pig muttered. Then, he shouted at Fang Jingyu, Hey, ugly woman. Are you jealous of my master's beauty? Is that why you're harming her like this? Even if you harm her like this, you won't become beautiful. As Little Pig spoke, he raised a hoof toward Fang Jingyu. It had no choice. It wanted to learn from Luo Qingtong and give her a thumbs down or something. But, he couldn't do that pose as a hoof. However, it was enough to raise one hoof. Hearing Little Pig's words, Fang Jingyu exploded in anger. Who was the one who caused her to become like this? Wasn't it? Now, even the pig beside her was laughing at him. Fang Jingyu says she Little Pig, calm. Jingyu. Just do as I say. Don't worry, I swear to the heavens that I will never reveal anything about her. I only want this woman dead. Fang Jingyu's voice was crazed. She didn't care if the people from Beast Taming King's Valley could get Luo Qingtong's secrets. She didn't care if the people from Celestial Palace wanted to monopolize the secrets. She only wanted Luo Qingtong dead. Nothing else mattered. Hearing her words, the people from Celestial Palace looked at each other. The elder from Celestial Palace waved his hand and said, Do it. Indeed, it was too difficult to get an answer from Luo Qingtong's mouth. It was better to do as Fang Jingyu said. When they were about to make their move, Luo Qingtong finally opened her mouth with an indifferent expression. P.S. I'm too sleepy to write. 7 chapters, 4 chapters guaranteed, 3 extra chapters. I'll continue during the day. Mwah. As usual, if I don't see any new chapters by noon, it'll be after 6 p.m. Chapter 2010. Are you done? The girl raised her eyebrows slightly. It wasn't anything special. But at this moment, on this beautiful face without any concealment, there was an enchanting charm that was completely different from others. Domineering, unrestrained, gorgeous, and enchanting. If you're done, then prepare to die. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She had stood there for so long, not to listen to their nonsense, but to be sure that no one else was following behind them. A sage emperor and more than 20 sage emperors. Is this what you're relying on? Her gaze swept across the group of Celestial Palace people who were charging at her, and Fang Jingyu, who had a complacent and ruthless expression on her face. With such strength, these people wanted to make her die a miserable death, or perhaps, make her suffer a fate worse than death. Humph. Luo Qingtong, you can continue to boast shamelessly and deliberately mystify as much as you can. After all, this is the only path you can take, isn't it? Fang Jingyu sneered. She listened to Luo Qingtong's words, but she wasn't moved at all. This woman was probably only left with such a scheming path, wasn't she? But at this moment, who could fall for her trick? Previously, when she toyed with the Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace in the palm of her hand, people had already seen through her cunning nature. But now, the people of Heavenly Yuan sect and that masked man weren't here, so who could save her? She would try her best to show off her cleverness and see if she could save her own life. Fang Jingyu's expression became more and more twisted and cold. She couldn't wait to see Luo Qingtong's panicked and desperate expression when she realized that her plan was no longer working. Her expression was sinister, and she treated all of Luo Qingtong's words as a deliberate threat. Little Pig, on the other hand, looked at her sympathetically. Idiot. He took back his previous words. This woman was more than ugly and crippled. She was clearly stupid. She was hopelessly stupid. She actually thought that Luo Qingtong's words were a threat so that they would let her live. What a strange way of thinking. It was true that Luo Qingtong was good at scheming, but not everyone was worthy of her scheming. These people from Celestial Palace didn't even have the qualifications to be used by her. Where did Fang Jingyu get her confidence from? How could she say such words? A face was a good thing, hopefully she would understand it. Luo Qingtong couldn't be bothered to listen to Fang Jingyu's words. She waved the long sword in her hand and said, Little Pig, watch these people. Don't give them a chance to escape. As she spoke, she charged towards the people from the Celestial Palace who were charging towards her. Clang! The long sword in the young girl's hand made a clanging sound like a bell. The cold light on it was piercingly cold. It suddenly lit up, and the coldness was wanton. Boom! A stunning sword radiance shot out from Luo Qingtong's life and death dual swords and rushed towards the people from the Supreme Celestial Palace. First form of the heaven-conquering art, heaven seizing. Luo Qingtong's strength was enough to kill an ordinary Saint King realm expert when she was still a Saint Lord. Chapter 2011. Bang! The sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand struck a Celestial Palace expert who was the first to reach her. At first, the opponent did not think much of Luo Qingtong's attack. She was just a Saint King realm girl. Even if she was a rare genius with extraordinary strength, so what? Moreover, who didn't know that Luo Qingtong's reputation as a genius was a lie to the people of beast-taming King's Valley? No one knew whether her talent as a beast-taming master was real or not. Not to mention that her martial talent had never been revealed before. This Celestial Palace Saint King completely ignored Luo Qingtong's attack. He raised his hand and wanted to use the weapon in his hand to block Luo Qingtong's attack. However, just as his weapon came into contact with Luo Qingtong's attack, his expression changed drastically. Not because of anything else, but the power contained in Luo Qingtong's attack was actually not inferior to these Holy Emperor Realm cultivators. In fact, it was even stronger than that. What's going on? How did she do it? This Celestial Palace expert was shocked. He opened his mouth and wanted to warn the others around him to be careful. However, the sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand had already broken through his defense. With a bang, it broke through the attack that he had casually raised his hand to block and directly cut his throat. Bang! This Celestial Palace Saint King realm expert's corpse fell to the ground. The other Celestial Palace Saint King realm expert who had rushed up to grab Luo Qingtong was caught off guard and was blinded by the sudden splash of blood. Before he could react, in the next second, an incomparably sharp sword light flew over and directly cut off his head. His corpse fell heavily to the ground. In just an instant, 2 Saint Emperors had died. The experts of Celestial Palace were shocked. Only now did they realize that what Luo Qingtong had said about them waiting for death was not nonsense, nor was it deliberately mystifying. The other party's strength was clearly not an ordinary Saint King. After all, which Saint King possessed the strength to instantly annihilate Saint Emperors like them? It was laughable that they thought that Luo Qingtong was not strong enough to fool the beast-tamer King Valley and the Celestial Palace. However, he didn't know that the girl's strength had never been revealed from the beginning to the end. Beast-taming King Valley and Celestial Palace were 2 complete sects with powerful strength. Naturally, they were worthy of Luo Qingtong's scheming. However, it wasn't worth it for these people. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and fear. After the 2 Saint Emperors fell, a Celestial Palace Saint King Realm expert directly blasted towards Luo Qingtong's location. However, the girl's figure had already disappeared. The special terrain of the land of the deceased immortals could completely hide Luo Qingtong's figure. She could clearly see the figures of the Celestial Palace people, but they could not see her. Bang, bang, bang. Sword light flashed past one after another. The group of Celestial Palace Saint Emperors could not fight back under Luo Qingtong's attacks. They could not even see where Luo Qingtong was. Chapter 2012. Bang! 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 When their bodies fell, Fang Jingyu and the Celestial Palace Elder finally regained their senses. You! They looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong in shock. Especially Fang Jingyu. She was still waiting for Luo Qingtong to be captured by these people from Celestial Palace and brought to her, so that she could torture her mercilessly. At that time, even if Luo Qingtong wanted to open her mouth to reveal something and beg for a chance to live, she would not allow it. She would not allow it either. She would definitely do something in the dark and torture the other party to death. However, who could tell her why the scene in front of her was completely different from what she had expected? More than 20 Holy Emperor stage experts from Celestial Palace were slaughtered by Luo Qingtong in less than a few breaths of time. Fang Jingyu and the Celestial Palace Elder did not even have time to react. They were too confident. In their opinion, how could Luo Qingtong escape the siege of those Holy Emperor stage experts from Celestial Palace? The only outcome for her was to be captured and tied up. The Celestial Palace Elder watched the show with his hands clasped behind his back. By the time he realized that something was wrong, he had already lost the best opportunity to act. Just as he was about to rush out, he was stopped by Little Pig. Little Pig had been sleeping in the 9-story exquisite pagoda for so long because of Luo Qingtong's increase in strength. His original strength had also been unsealed. Now, Little Pig's strength had also increased. His little pink figure was like a bolt of lightning, flying around the Celestial Palace Elder. His 4 little pink hooves flickered with a chilly light, letting people know that his little hooves were not just good at acting cute. Bang! That Celestial Palace Elder hurriedly blasted out an attack, but it was intercepted midway. Not only that, but a Celestial Palace Holy Emperor stage expert who had turned around to escape was also pierced through by Little Pig's little hoof the moment he turned around. The charm of an ancient divine beast was finally revealed a little. Swoosh! After Luo Qingtong killed the last Celestial Palace Holy Emperor stage expert who had besieged her, she turned to look at the Celestial Palace Elder and Fang Jingyu beside him. Fang Jingyu's expression changed greatly. She had wanted to warn these Celestial Palace experts of Luo Qingtong's whereabouts. However, Luo Qingtong's movements were too fast. In such a battle of life and death, the distance between life and death could be separated in just an instant. Fang Jingyu had no time to speak. Of course, even if she had spoken, she wouldn't have been able to change the outcome. Because Luo Qingtong's figure was constantly changing. By the time she called out Luo Qingtong's location, the girl had already changed her position. Knowing that Fang Jingyu could find and see through her position, how could Luo Qingtong give her any chance to take advantage of her? She would first get rid of the hindrance below. What came next was the real highlight of the show. These Celestial Palace Holy Emperors had been instigated by Fang Jingyu to capture her, but who knew that this was exactly what she wanted? Today, none of those who caught up to her would be able to leave. Especially Fang Jingyu. Luo Qingtong still wanted to ask her how she and those from Beast Taming King's Valley had discovered her. Chapter 2013. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She shook the life and death duality sword in her hand to shake off the blood on it. His eyes flashed with a cold light as he stared at Fang Jingyu and the elder from the Celestial Palace. The latter's expression was grave. Fang Jingyu felt a chill all over her body. She didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be so strong. Looking at the corpses of the sage emperors around the girl, her heart was filled with panic. However, she quickly calmed down. This was because she recalled that the Celestial Palace Elder beside her was a Sage Emperor expert. Although he was only a low-level Sage Emperor, his strength was on a completely different level from that of a Sage Emperor. Luo Qingtong could easily kill those Sage Emperors, but she relied on the terrain of the land of the deceased immortals. Fang Jingyu didn't know how Luo Qingtong could come and go freely in the land of the deceased immortals. But when she thought of the treasure map in Luo Qingtong's hands, she felt relieved. Luo Qingtong must have learned some of the secrets of the land of the deceased immortals from the treasure map and mastered them. Otherwise, how could she become so powerful? This wasn't her true strength, nor was it because she was very powerful. It must be because of the treasure map. It was the same for the pure-blood immortal jade bone in her hands. It must be because of the treasure map. If she could get the treasure map, she should also be able to obtain this ability. As for Luo Qingtong, she was just lucky. Thinking of this, when she looked at Luo Qingtong again, her eyes were filled with deep malice and jealousy. Elder Hua. She looked at the Celestial Palace Elder and said, she must be relying on the treasure map to be able to do this. I can see her position clearly. Her invisibility is useless in front of me. As long as she can't hide in the fog of the land of the deceased immortals, she won't be a threat to you. Later, I'll show you her position. She won't be able to escape. Fang Jingyu looked in Luo Qingtong's direction with a sinister expression. Did she think she could force them to retreat like this? Did she think that killing those sage emperors would scare them off? What a joke. Without the obstruction of those sage emperors, it was easier for her to see Luo Qingtong's figure. In her senses, the light emitted from Luo Qingtong's body was extremely bright. In this dark fog, it was as dazzling as a lantern. Luo Qingtong was like a live target. How could she deal with the Celestial Palace Elders beside her? She was bound to lose. It was laughable that Luo Qingtong was still so arrogant, telling them to wait for death. She was going to see who would be the one waiting to die. Luo Qingtong, I'll keep those punishments for you. When the time comes, I'll let you have a good taste of them. Fang Jingyu's eyes were cold and vicious. Luo Qingtong smiled when she saw this. Interesting. Did Fang Jingyu think that she could come and go as she pleased in the graveyard of immortals because of the treasure map she'd obtained? Luo Qingtong's lips curled up in amusement. Chapter 2014. When the Celestial Palace Elder heard Fang Jingyu's words, he immediately thought of the treasure map. He was very excited when he thought that Luo Qingtong's ability might have come from the treasure map. If he could get his hands on the treasure map, wouldn't all the abilities that Luo Qingtong possessed belong to him? Including the ability to walk freely in the land of the deceased immortals, as well as the ability to kill blood-rotting corpses and obtain the pure-blood celestial jade bones. As the Celestial Palace Elder thought about it, his fear of Luo Qingtong disappeared. Instead, he looked at her as if she were a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. His eyes were full of desire and greed. Okay, come here. Give me instructions. As the Celestial Palace Elder spoke, he pulled Fang Jingyu in front of him and let her hug him tightly. Then, his figure suddenly swept up and rushed in the direction of Luo Qingtong. He was sure that with Fang Jingyu around, Luo Qingtong would not be able to sneak up on him. As long as he could catch the other party's location, given the other party's strength, he would sooner or later kill or capture her. At that time, wouldn't the treasure map be his? As for the pink pig beside the other party, it could stop him for a while, but would it be able to stop him forever? Sooner or later, all of them would fall into his hands. As the Celestial Palace Elder thought about it, he suddenly released his aura and attacked Luo Qingtong. The aura of the Sage Emperor realm was so vast that it almost shook the heavens and the earth. The surrounding fog was stirred up, forming a very sharp and terrifying vortex. The sound of the wind cutting through the vortex was as sharp as a knife. Boom! 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 The Celestial Palace Elder's aura was extremely strong. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes as she watched him attack her. In her eyes, a blood-red vortex spun violently. She had already practiced the moves and the power of this Celestial Palace disciple's moves, as well as the changes in the later stages of his moves. Luo Qingtong held the life and death yin-yang sword horizontally in the face of her opponent's ferocious attack. Annihilation. Luo Qingtong's attack blasted out. In the blink of an eye, the white light rushed forward like a waterfall. As soon as the light of annihilation came into contact with the mist surrounding the fallen immortal land, it reacted violently. The surrounding light was constantly being melted and transformed, strengthening the power of this annihilation attack. As the annihilation sword light grew, it suddenly evolved from a crescent moon to a full bowstring. Boom! When this ray of light collided with the attack unleashed by the Celestial Palace's elder, it surprisingly annihilated and neutralized his attack. Bang! The attacks of the two sides collided and exploded in midair. Fang Jingyu and the Celestial Palace Elder had imagined that Luo Qingtong would take advantage of the terrain of the fallen immortal land to deal with them and escape in a panic. Everything was in their imagination. Luo Qingtong was standing right in front of them and fighting them head-on. Luo Qingtong's strength was tyrannical. Chapter 2015. What circling around? What dodging? What using a treasure map to obtain victory against those Saint Emperor realm experts? None of that existed. If Luo Qingtong had used such a move before, those Saint Emperor realm experts would not have been able to withstand it. Why would she need to use the terrain of the Graveyard of Immortals to circle around? She was doing this to hide her strength. Bang! The Celestial Palace Elder was forced to take a step back by the shockwave from the explosion in midair. His face was aghast. The strength displayed by Luo Qingtong's attack was not inferior to his at all. How could she be so strong? The girl who he thought would be an easy target had suddenly turned into an expert who was not inferior to him at all, resisting him with the strength of a Saint King realm expert. The Celestial Supreme Palace's elder felt as if he had been F***ed. Fang Jingyu's expression was even more incredulous. She had previously vowed that she would help this Celestial Palace elder to prevent Luo Qingtong from escaping. In the blink of an eye, she realized that she was of no use at all. Even if she did not use the terrain of the Graveyard of Immortals, Luo Qingtong's strength was not inferior to the Celestial Palace Elder at all. Ah! Fang Jingyu screamed in a shrill voice, unable to believe all this. As for the Celestial Palace Elder, he quickly flew back the moment he retreated. He could see that Luo Qingtong's strength was not something that an ordinary Saint Emperor realm expert or even a Saint Emperor realm expert could deal with. The fact that the other party was able to kill the bloody corpse wasn't due to luck or the treasure map. It was due to true strength. No, he had to leave this place immediately and report this matter to the sect so that they and the people of beast-taming King Valley could deal with Luo Qingtong. Even if he could not kill her, he would still be rewarded handsomely if he could pass on her various abilities and situation to the sect. However, just as he turned around, a pink little pig's trotter appeared in front of him. With a wave of its hoof, it forced him back. Hey, don't worry. What's the hurry? Weren't you quite capable just now? Continue. Little Pig's hooves stirred up the wind as it stomped on the air, its face filled with a smug and adorable expression. What did these guys take them for? A dish? If he wanted to eat, he would serve, but if he didn't, he would withdraw. What a joke. With Grandpa Pig here, let's see who can leave. Did he think that helping Luo Qingtong was fake? Only then did the elder of the Celestial Palace realize that the situation was not good. Luo Qingtong had clearly planned this out. She would first kill those Saint Emperor realm experts, then deal with him and Fang Jingyu. The girl's strength was not as weak as they thought. She had deliberately concealed her strength in order to make them lower their guard. It's over. His heart turned cold. He hated Fang Jingyu to the bone. Originally, he was a little hesitant when he saw that Luo Qingtong was able to use the terrain of the fallen immortal land to kill a group of Saint Emperor realm experts. After all, if Luo Qingtong continued to hide in the fog of the fallen immortal land, even if he was stronger than her, he might not be able to do anything to her. If other evil beings were attracted, it would be inevitable that both sides would suffer losses. At that time, he wanted to leave. It was Fang Jingyu's words that gave him the confidence to deal with Luo Qingtong. Chapter 2016. The Celestial Palace's elder was furious as he thought about this. He pulled Fang Jingyu off his body and threw her at Little Pig. Ah! Fang Jingyu's face was filled with terror. She screamed hysterically. She dashed towards Little Pig. Little Pig looked at her with disdain. Ugly woman. Little Pig said and slapped Fang Jingyu away with his hoof. The latter instantly screamed in agony as he fell heavily to the ground beside him. Coincidentally, the spot where she had hit was right in front of the corpse. Fang Jingyu screamed even more miserably when she saw the corpse's hideous face. When Fang Jingyu was slapped away, the Celestial Palace elder rushed out from where Little Pig was. However, it was too late. His fate was sealed the moment Little Pig blocked his path. Annihilation. Luo Qingtong's sword light blasted out again. It rushed toward the Celestial Palace elder. When the elder sensed the attack, he didn't even turn his head. He only attacked backward. He had already rushed out. Luo Qingtong couldn't stop him even if she attacked again. Humph, Luo Qingtong, don't be so smug. Ah. Before he could finish his sentence, he screamed miserably. Several types of flames suddenly flew out from the attack and blasted his body. It turned out that Luo Qingtong had added the power of the soul of 1,000 flames into her annihilation attack. Although the annihilation attack was neutralized, the power of the soul of 1,000 flames was still there. As soon as the power flew out, the Celestial Palace elder's body was covered in flames. The color and power of these flames were different. They weren't easy to extinguish. Their combined power was very powerful. In just an instant, the elder of the Celestial Palace was burned to the point where he was rolling on the ground. A series of cries of agony burst out from his mouth. Then, Luo Qingtong shot out a ray of annihilation light, which made him spit out blood and fall to the ground. The Celestial Palace elder's body twitched. The power of the soul of 1,000 flames on his body didn't last long. It burned out quickly. But now, he didn't have any strength to resist. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and walked toward the Celestial Palace elder. She waved her hand and took something from his body. Sensing her actions, the Celestial Palace elder's eyes widened. No. No. His voice was filled with fear. But before he could finish his words, Luo Qingtong knocked him out. Fang Jingyu screamed miserably. Her face. She fell on the corpse and couldn't get up no matter how hard she tried. Her whole body was filled with the stench of rotten corpses and blood. Because she couldn't get up no matter how hard she tried, she fell on the corpse and had intimate contact with it several times. It was so irritating that she wanted to vomit. Ah! She screamed shrilly and Luo Qingtong walked over directly. With a crack, she dislocated her chin. Are you done screaming? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at her. Fang Jingyu's face was filled with hatred and fear. Luo Qingtong, you'd better kill me. Otherwise, I won't let you go. Absolutely not. When Luo Qingtong put Fang Jingyu's chin back in place, she screamed shrilly. Chapter 2017. Bang! Luo Qingtong stomped her back onto the corpse. Fang Jingyu, don't try to provoke me. I won't let you die easily. Trust me. You can't bear the consequences. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Blood flashed in her eyes. How could she not know what Fang Jingyu was thinking? She wanted to provoke her and then die quickly. But how could it be so easy? If she wanted to kill her, she would have done it long ago. Why would she wait until now? Now speak. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. How did you people from Beast Taming King's Valley discover my identity? How did you catch up with me? In addition, in the Broken Star Valley, what else is there besides the 5th beast taming incantation? You know all of it. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Fang Jingyu's heart was shocked. The 5th beast taming incantation was not recorded in the holy book. How did Luo Qingtong know? What, are you surprised that I know? Luo Qingtong looked at Fang Jingyu with raised eyebrows. I also know that the combination of your Beast Taming King Valley's 4 beast taming arts and the 5th beast taming art is a true, flawless beast taming art. If not, why would she spare Fang Jingyu's life for the time being? The beast taming incantation that you people from Beast Taming King's Valley cultivate is just a defective copy, right? You. Fang Jingyu looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. She struggled with all her might on the corpse. How do you know all of this? This was impossible. Only the top people in Beast Taming King's Valley knew that the 4 beast taming incantations were complete. If she wasn't the daughter of Beast Taming King Guguju, she wouldn't know this. How did Luo Qingtong know? How could she know such a thing? Fang Jingyu's heart was full of disbelief. You don't need to know how I found out. The important thing is whether you want to tell me what you know. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Fang Jingyu looked conflicted. She looked at Luo Qingtong with hatred and resentment. She didn't want the other party to get what she wanted. Why should she tell him everything she knew? But if he didn't speak, he would die. Besides, if she didn't say anything, couldn't Luo Qingtong find the answer from other places? Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu gritted her teeth. Then, she said to Luo Qingtong with a twisted expression, if you swear that you will let me go after I tell you, and that you and everyone around you will not attack me, hurt me, or kill me, then I will tell you. Good. Luo Qingtong looked at her, the corners of her lips slightly raised, and she agreed in an unusually straightforward manner. As long as you swear to the heavens that you are telling the truth, I will let you go. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She would naturally let go Fang Jingyu, but at that time, she was afraid that Fang Jingyu would rather her than let her go. Good. Fang Jingyu nodded. Although she was puzzled by Luo Qingtong's straightforward answer, she thought about it. But she thought about it again and again. She was very sure that if Luo Qingtong swore according to what she said, there was no loophole to take advantage of. The other party could only let her go. At that time, when she returned to the Beast Taming King Valley team, she would definitely make the other party pay the price. Luo Qingtong, just you wait. As long as I can survive this time, I will make you beg for death in the future. It's over. 8 chapters. Guaranteed minimum of 4 chapters, plus 4 chapters. I've paid back all the tips and updates I owe. Also, happy 520 PDA. I love you guys. Chapter 2018. I was able to find you because you have the aura of the holy book on you. Fang Jingyu said coldly. She and Luo Qingtong had both sworn an oath to the heavens. Seeing that there was no problem, she opened her mouth and told them the reason why she could see Luo Qingtong. The Holy Book. Luo Qingtong raised an eyebrow. No wonder the people from Beast-Taming King's Valley could find her. Apart from her, only the highest level of the Beast-Taming King's Valley had touched the Holy Book. It was indeed easy to find her through the aura. However, there's a limit to the aura, right? Luo Qingtong raised an eyebrow at Fang Jingyu. Otherwise, the people from Beast-Taming King's Valley wouldn't have waited until the land of the deceased immortals was about to open to find her at the entrance. Yes. Fang Jingyu said coldly, there's a limit to the distance. Therefore, after Beast-Taming King Guguju and the others were stopped by the people from the Sky Branch, she and the people from Celestial Palace were the only ones who managed to catch up. Otherwise, how could Luo Qingtong have escaped so easily? She wouldn't have been the one to be trampled to the ground and faced with the bloody corpse. Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu's heart was filled with hatred and resentment. However, she quickly calmed down. In the land of the deceased immortals, they would always have a chance to find and deal with Luo Qingtong. Unless she gave up on the great benefits in the land of the deceased immortals and left, not participating in the battles and trials here. But was that possible? Fang Jingyu sneered. Even if Luo Qingtong didn't have the treasure map to the center of the land of the deceased immortals, Fang Jingyu wouldn't miss the opportunity to train in the land of the deceased immortals. After all, even if Luo Qingtong left the land of the deceased immortals, she would be able to avoid their search and pursuit this time. In the future, she wouldn't be able to escape from the hidden world. Therefore, Luo Qingtong wouldn't give up the opportunity to enter the land of the deceased immortals. By then, he would have countless ways to find her and kill her in the land of the deceased immortals. At that thought, Fang Jingyu looked at Luo Qingtong and said coldly, even so, Luo Qingtong, you can't escape. We, the Beast-Taming King Valley, have countless ways to find you. As long as you are within our sensing range. Even if you were underground, we would still be able to find you. There were many Beast-Tamer King Valley disciples in the fallen immortal land. Sooner or later, someone would discover Luo Qingtong. At that time, the other party would most likely be silently surrounded. By the time the situation was discovered, it was already too late. Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu laughed coldly. She wasn't afraid that Luo Qingtong would kill her. After all, she still wanted to interrogate her. Moreover, Luo Qingtong had just made an oath. Is that so? Luo Qingtong looked at Fang Jingyu's smug and arrogant expression and smiled, then let's wait and see. Sometimes, it was a rare pleasure to see prey struggling in self-righteous ways. Do you have a way to remove this feeling? Fang Jingyu asked. No. Fang Jingyu said coldly, then looked at Luo Qingtong mockingly, you still want to remove this feeling? I advise you to stop dreaming. The same book was the most important thing in the Beast-Taming King Valley. Chapter 2019. If Luo Qingtong hadn't been discovered, it would have been fine. They wouldn't have thought of using this method to deal with her and confirm her identity. After all, the aura on the Holy Book could only be determined and activated by the Beast-Tamer King's Valley's Dark Branch's unique array. But once it was determined and activated, Luo Qingtong wouldn't be able to remove it. Unless she died. Otherwise, this aura would follow her for life. As long as the Beast-Tamer King's Valley sensed it, they would be able to find her. You really don't have it. Luo Qingtong looked at her with a chuckle. Then if the people of the Beast-Tamer King's Valley touched the Holy Book, they would also carry this mark for life. Fang Jingyu, don't tease me. Or are you trying to tell me that you don't know what this aura mark represents? Luo Qingtong looked at Fang Jingyu with a smile. She would touch the Holy Book, the people of the Beast-Tamer King's Valley would also touch it. Could it be that those people would leave such a hidden danger? One must know that once one was marked, there was a possibility that one's whereabouts could be investigated and traced. Were the hearts of the beast tamer King Guguju and the others so big? Weren't they afraid that there would be people who wanted to harm them and take their positions and kill them? Luo Qingtong didn't believe that the people of the beast tamer King's Valley would be so harmonious. Therefore, there must be a way to remove this aura so that others couldn't sense it. You! Fang Jingyu gritted her teeth and looked at Luo Qingtong. The girl's every question was very sharp and to the point. Moreover, she was very insightful, making it impossible for her to deceive her. Damn it, why was the other party so good at asking questions? What she didn't know was that this was a necessary skill for Luo Qingtong in her previous life. When doing a mission, when being chased, if she couldn't even get the basic information from other people's words, Luo Qingtong might as well wait for death. There is indeed a way to hide this aura. But this aura can't be removed. Fang Jingyu said coldly. She had indeed wanted to use this method of secretly changing the concept to avoid the problem of Luo Qingtong. Unexpectedly, Luo Qingtong was not fooled at all. If he continued to hide it, he would be punished by the heavenly Tao. Fang Jingyu had no choice but to say this. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong immediately raised her eyebrows. What method? This method is useless to you. Fang Jingyue said coldly. She didn't say it, not because she was afraid that Luo Qingtong would learn it, but because she didn't want Luo Qingtong to know so much. He simply didn't want to talk about it. Since Luo Qingtong wanted to hear it, then she would tell her. The only way to conceal this aura is to practice our beast-taming King Valley's unique cultivation technique. At that time, the two auras will cancel each other out. But in our beast-taming King's Valley, that technique can only be cultivated after being selected by the Dark Department and injected with a special type of energy. Otherwise, ordinary cultivators can't practice it at all. Tell me, how can you conceal this aura? Her face was full of ridicule. She had said before that Luo Qingtong could stop dreaming. Attribute aura. Soul seal aura. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She thought that she probably understood what was going on with the unique cultivation technique that the people of beast-taming King's Valley practiced. Like the soul seal, only people with a specific attribute aura can practice it, right? That cultivation technique. Chapter 2020. This was done by the founder of the Dark Department? Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. His soul seal's aura can form a special connection and response with other auras. So he thought of using this to protect the Holy Book's aura. Luo Qingtong tapped the back of her other hand with her finger, then looked at Fang Jingyu and said, the so-called special method that allows people to cultivate that unique technique is just to symbolically display the aura of the soul seal, right? She raised her eyebrows and looked at Fang Jingyu. Under normal circumstances, if a cultivator didn't possess the attribute of the soul seal, they wouldn't be able to cultivate that soul seal's cultivation technique. But if one didn't require attack power and only wanted to possess the aura of the soul seal, there were still some special methods to achieve it. Was this what Fang Jingyu meant when she said that? Otherwise, Luo Qingtong really couldn't think of any special technique that could only be cultivated by the people selected by the Dark Department of the Beast Tamer King's Valley. Take note, it was the people they selected. Not the people who had some kind of innate talent. Fang Jingyu's face was cold and she didn't speak. Her heart was in a perilous situation. Luo Qingtong's ability to ask questions was really too amazing. She didn't say much at all, but the other party was able to guess most of the information from her words. Fortunately, even if Luo Qingtong guessed correctly, she still couldn't cultivate that special technique. She still couldn't conceal the aura on her body. Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu sneered. That's right, it's just as you said. But so what? She snorted coldly and looked at Luo Qingtong. You still can't get rid of the aura on your body. You don't need to worry about whether I can get rid of it or not. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She was born with the mixed yuan body, so she could cultivate any attribute of the technique. She didn't need to go through the Beast Tamer King's Valley special method of injecting aura. So what Fang Jingyu thought about, that she couldn't cultivate, didn't exist at all. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong suddenly said to Fang Jing, write down that cultivation technique from memory. As she spoke, she took out a pen and paper from the trash ring in her hand and tossed it to Fang Jingyu. What? Fang Jingyu stared blankly at the pen and paper that Luo Qingtong had thrown in front of her. Why do you want me to write it down from memory? She couldn't cultivate. You just have to write it down from memory. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Did she need to tell Fang Jingyu whether she could cultivate or not? Humph. Fang Jingyu sneered. She thought that Luo Qingtong was unwilling to give up and wanted to try. Since that was the case, she would let her know what despair was. As she thought about it, she immediately wrote down the cultivation method from memory. In any case, she had great confidence in this. Even if Luo Qingtong cultivated until she vomited blood, it was impossible for her to succeed. This was something that the Beast Taming King's Valley had long since verified. Fang Jingyu quickly wrote down the cultivation method from memory. Luo Qingtong glanced at it and put it away. She had already memorized this cultivation method in her mind and began to silently circulate it in her body. Then she looked at Fang Jingyu and asked, next, it's about the Shattered Star Valley. How much do you know about it? Humph. Don't you already know most of it? Chapter 2021. When Luo Qingtong talked about the fifth beast taming art, she was very shocked. This was definitely the biggest secret of their beast taming king valley. Even if Luo Qingtong had read the holy book, she shouldn't know about it. Thinking about it, Fang Jingyu clenched her teeth and said, in the Broken Star Valley, the founder of our beast taming king valley accidentally found an expert's inheritance. As you've seen in the same book, our Beast Taming King Valley's beast taming incantations and various powerful cultivation methods and martial skills are mostly obtained from the same book. And those beast taming art were all incomplete copies that we copied from there. Although it can control demonic beasts, it has a lot of drawbacks. As she spoke, she looked at Luo Qingtong with a sinister gaze and said, previously in the Beast Garden, didn't my father's demonic beasts bite back? Luo Qingtong, tell me honestly, was that your doing? Fang Jingyu's voice was cold and harsh. Her tragic fate had begun when she was in the Beast Garden. Disfigured and half-crippled. It was all because of the riot in the Beast Garden. Although she hated Luo Qingtong before, she didn't think that Luo Qingtong could control those demonic beasts and cause all this. She only thought that Luo Qingtong didn't fall into her trap, causing her to rush over to check and end up like this. But now, after hearing Luo Qingtong talk about the fifth beast taming art, she wasn't sure anymore. After all, if Luo Qingtong knew about the fifth beast taming art, it meant that she was very familiar with their Beast Taming King Valley's beast taming art. Was Luo Qingtong the one who harmed her? It was me. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She didn't feel that there was anything to hide. Not only the Beast Garden, but also the superior Sirius Flower and the deaths of Han Dong and the others, it was all my doing. Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, and Fang Jingyu's expression instantly became as sinister as a ghost. You did it. You actually did it all. Her voice was shrill. Fang Jingyu didn't think too much about it before. She only thought that Luo Qingtong came for the holy book. He only used the superior Sirius Flower to attract the attention of Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others. But now that Luo Qingtong said it, she realized that it was all Luo Qingtong's doing. She killed Han Dong and ruined her birthday banquet. She was the one who had caused him to become like this. Fang Jingyu's expression was fierce. Almost instantly, she couldn't control herself and pounced on Luo Qingtong. Bang! Luo Qingtong kicked her back to the ground and stepped on her firmly. Fang Jingyu, you still don't know who's the one calling the shots. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold, and she kicked Fang Jingyu away. Fang Jingyu fell heavily on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Beside her was Elder Huo from Celestial Palace. Luo Qingtong. Fang Jingyu's voice was shrill. You swore to the heavens that as long as I told you everything you wanted to know, you would let me go. Now, let me go. She shouted at Luo Qingtong. That kick just now was because she attacked Luo Qingtong first, and the latter hit her back, so it didn't count. She wanted to leave this place immediately. Luo Qingtong, just you wait. When she returned to the Beast Tamer King's Valley team, she would kill her. All right. Luo Qingtong looked at Elder Huo lying beside her and raised her eyebrows. Chapter 2022. With that, she turned around and left. Fang Jingyu was stunned for a moment as she watched her leave. Although she didn't know why Luo Qingtong was so easy to talk to and didn't even make things difficult for her, Fang Jingyu didn't have time to think about it. She quickly struggled to get up from the ground. She was about to run away. However, before she could get up from the ground, beside her, the body of Elder Huo from Celestial Palace started to squirm slowly. His movements were small at first, then became bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger. Even his whole body was trembling violently. Fang Jingyu felt the movement beside her. Suddenly, her whole body stiffened. She thought of something. This Elder Huo from Celestial Palace didn't die. Shouldn't he have been killed by Luo Qingtong? If he didn't die, then Fang Jingyu's face turned pale in an instant. She suddenly remembered the loophole in the oath she made with Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong didn't need to do it herself. She didn't even need to use anyone or anything around her, and she could easily put him to death. As long as she didn't kill Elder Huo from Celestial Palace, then, she would take away all the celestial jade bones in his body. The other party would be eroded by the aura of the Graveyard of Immortals and become like a living dead. Thinking of this, Fang Jingyu's face instantly turned pale and terrified. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice came from the direction she left. Fang Jingyu, I'll fulfill your request and let you go. In addition, I have a big gift for you. The ending you imagined for me before, I've prepared it for you. Just enjoy it. No need to thank me. As Luo Qingtong spoke, her figure suddenly flashed and completely disappeared in front of Fang Jingyu. The moment she leaped away, Fang Jingyu clearly saw that the white light emitted from Luo Qingtong's body disappeared. Completely disappeared in front of her. And Luo Qingtong's voice showed that she had actually just left. What did this mean? Fang Jingyu's face became more and more frightened and incredulous. Luo Qingtong actually succeeded in cultivating. It was that technique. It was that technique that neutralized the aura of the holy book in Luo Qingtong's body. Luo Qingtong could actually cultivate the unique technique of the Beast Taming King Valley. What kind of monster was she? Fang Jingyu's face full of horror and regret. Only now did she realize how stupid she had been in the past. She thought that Luo Qingtong was nothing special and that she could easily kill her. But she didn't know that she was provoking a sleeping phoenix. When the phoenix awoke and spread its wings, she would be burned to ashes by the phoenix's own glory and flames. Bang! Fang Jingyu's figure was viciously pressed to the ground by the mutated Elder Huo of the Celestial Palace. The latter had completely turned into a walking corpse and was biting viciously at Fang Jingyu. Her sharp nails dug into Fang Jingyu's arm. But this wasn't what made Fong Jingyu feel the most terrified and hopeless. What made her feel the most terrified and hopeless was the other party's steel-like lower body. The words Luo Qingtong said before she left flashed through her mind. Fong Jingyu instantly let out an incomparably shrill scream. That scream was unusually mournful and terrifying. Chapter 2023. Ah! Fong Jingyu's screams were mixed with the sound of the wind, as well as some kind of painful groan and chewing sound, spreading far and wide. Among them, there was also an extremely terrifying beast-like roar, without a trace of human aura. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. When Fong Jingyu's screams were heard, her figure had already flown hundreds of meters forward. Everything that Fong Jingyu had encountered in this club was the result of her own suffering. She was prepared to use this method to deal with Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong could only use this method to deal with her. It would also save her from being dissatisfied with her own end, wasn't it? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. When that elder who fainted, Luo Qingtong had already given him an aphrodisiac. At the same time, Luo Qingtong also took away all the immortal jade bones in his body. Of course, for many cultivators, in order to prevent others from secretly harming them, their immortal jade bones would be placed very secretively. It was very difficult to be stolen and discovered, and they would be placed in several places. But this was not a problem for Luo Qingtong at all. She easily took out all the immortal jade bones in that celestial palace elder whose body through her blood eyes. It was also because of this that the celestial palace elder whose expression was so shocked and desperate at that time. Because he had already thought of what would happen to him later. That was to be eroded to death by the aura of the graveyard of immortals. However, he did not know that Luo Qingtong did this not to let him die miserably. She wanted to use him to deal with Fong Jingyu. Fong Jingyu thought that she was smart and made Luo Qingtong swear that after she told her everything, she would not do anything to her and could only let her go. However, before Luo Qingtong was ready to ask, she already knew that Fong Jingyu would definitely use this opportunity to threaten her. And she was willing to give her this opportunity. After all, only by giving Fong Jingyu hope would she be able to tell the truth one by one. Wasn't that right? He had given her hope to live, and then he had shattered it all. To Fong Jingyu, this was more painful and despairing than any other punishment. Not to mention, not only had she told Luo Qingtong everything she knew, she had also helped her conceal the aura of the holy book. This alone was enough to make Fong Jingyu unable to rest in peace. Luo Qingtong had never been a kind person. Those who wanted her dead, she would retaliate with methods that were 100 times more ruthless. In a world where the strong were respected, kindness could not protect oneself and the people around you. Only blood could. Therefore, everyone who wanted to take her life had to die. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She flitted through the land of the fallen immortals. At this time, the people from beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace lost track of her and were too lazy to bother with the people from the Sky Branch. Let's go. Beast-tamer King Guguju's voice was cold. His gaze swept across the people from the Sky Branch, and he ordered the people around him, keep an eye on them. Luo Qingtong has a close relationship with them, she might come looking for them. Also, they might know the route of the treasure map. Don't let any suspicious signs slip by. Yes. The people from beast-taming King's Valley heard the order, and in an instant, some of them disappeared. Chapter 2024. Cooperation. The Celestial Palace Lord was surprised. He looked at the beast-tamer King Guguju. What was the other party planning? They actually wanted to cooperate with the Celestial Palace. The Celestial Zenith Palace Master had a cautious expression. He looked at the beast-tamer King Guguju suspiciously and said, "What's the reason for cooperation?" Beast Tamer King Guguju, with the strength of your Beast Tamer King Valley, you don't need to cooperate with us, right? Even if they had the same enemy. And Luo Qingtong was most likely backed by the Sky Yuan sect. But this shouldn't be the reason for the Beast Tamer King Valley to cooperate with them. With the strength of the Beast Tamer King Valley, they didn't need to be afraid of the Sky Yuan sect. Humph. I naturally have my reasons for saying this. The Beast Tamer King Guguju said while gritting his teeth. The reason why he said this was because Luo Qingtong spied on their holy book and learned the secret of the Broken Star Valley. If she spread this news, it would be troublesome. So the Beast Tamer King Guguju wanted to cooperate with the Celestial Palace and get the things inside as soon as possible. Especially the 5th Beast Tamer secret art. As long as they could get that secret art. The Beast Tamer King Valley's Beast Tamer King Valley's Beast Tamer secret art would be eliminated. At that time, their strength combined with the strength of their contracted beasts would reach a whole new level. For the Beast Tamer King Valley, this was a major event related to the future development of the sect, and also a major event related to their own strength. Naturally, they couldn't be careless. I need the help of the Celestial Palace, we need to get something together. As long as the people of the Celestial Palace agree to cooperate, then our previous grievances will be written off. Not only that, after we get Luo Qingtong's treasure map, the people of the Beast Tamer King Valley can also bring you into the forbidden area. At that time, we'll rely on our own abilities to get the treasure. Beast Tamer King Guguju's words were a promise to the Celestial Palace Master that he was willing to share Luo Qingtong's treasure map with them. In this way, even if they could not obtain the treasure indicated on the treasure map, the other benefits would be enough for the people of Celestial Palace to enjoy. Not to mention, they still had the chance to seize the treasure. With that in mind, the Celestial Palace Master immediately agreed. Sure. We from Celestial Palace are willing to cooperate with you. All right. The Beast Tamer King Guguju looked very satisfied. With the help of the Celestial Palace, he might be able to get the 5th part of the animal taming incantation from the Broken Stars Valley. After all, the previous few times, they were only a little bit off. Once they got the 5th beast taming incantation, they wouldn't have to worry about Luo Qingtong leaking the existence of the Broken Star Valley. With that in mind, the Beast Tamer King Guguju immediately led them and the people of the Beast Tamer King Valley to the Broken Star Valley. After they left, the people of the Sky Yuan sect also prepared to move on. At this moment, Qingtong suddenly looked at Su Yu and the others and said, "Wait. Are they going to part ways with us?" With that, he looked at Su Yu and the others with a cold snort and said, "And those celestial jade bones they have, I'm afraid they have to return them to the Sky Yuan sect. After all, Luo Qingtong is not here. She can't fulfill her agreement with us." Chapter 2025. Qingtong's words instantly enraged the Grand Supreme Dean. "Qingtong, what do you mean by that?" "What do I mean?" He looked at Su Yu and the others and raised his voice. "What I mean is, Luo Qingtong told us that she would help us solve the hidden danger of the Forbidden Area's power, and then we would help her take care of the people around her, right? But now, she can't even protect herself. She might not even be able to get out of the land of the fallen immortals alive. How can we take care of these people for her? Not to mention that we have to support their immortal jade bones. Why? These immortal jade bones were obtained by the disciples of the Sky Yuan sect. It's not for some people to use as a favor." As Qingtong spoke, he looked coldly at the Grand Supreme Dean and said, "Zhu Yi, I know that Luo Qingtong is your student, but a favor is a favor and a deal is a deal. You can't use our Sky Yuan sect's things to do a favor for your reputation, right?" Qingtong's words could be said to be a very merciless criticism. At this moment, he felt an indescribable exaltation in his heart. Originally, Although he was unhappy that Luo Qingtong had helped the Grand Supreme Dean win back the position of the Sky Yuan sect's chief disciple, there was nothing he could do about it. But this was good. Luo Qingtong had offended people from the beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace, and was being hunted down by these two sects. Not to mention that it was basically impossible for her to leave the land of the fallen immortals alive. Even if she could survive, after leaving the land of the fallen immortals, would the people from the beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace let her go? Therefore, her deal with the Sky Yuan sect could be said to be completely invalid. In that case, what was he afraid of? Without Luo Qingtong's ability, the elders of the Sky Yuan sect might not help them like before. Sure enough, after hearing his words, many elders of the Sky Yuan sect frowned. That's right, Luo Qingtong was unlikely to fulfill her promise with them. In that case, they didn't need to provide Su Yu and the others with immortal jade bones. After all, this wasn't a small amount. With that thought in mind, many elders stood on Qingtong's side. Seeing this, the latter immediately put on a smug look. Did you see that? That was what everyone thought as well. So, Zhu Yi, if you must do them a favor, then use your own immortal jade bones to support them, right? Don't use the sect's interests for personal gain. The moment Qingtong's words left his mouth, the Grand Supreme Dean was about to explode from anger. He was using the sect's benefits for personal gain. These people didn't even know how this deal came about. Did they really think that Luo Qingtong had taken advantage of them with these immortal jade bones? That was because they had taken advantage of others, all right. Purifying immortal jade bones. If it weren't for the fact that they had to protect that girl and were afraid that revealing too much of her abilities would be detrimental to her, how could they possibly tell the outside world that it was because Luo Qingtong had promised to dissolve the mysterious power of the Forbidden Zone for them, so they had taken care of Su Yu and the others for her and even provided them with immortal jade bones? A bunch of idiots. Luo Qingtong's ability to purify immortal jade bones was extremely rare. They didn't even know that they had taken advantage of her. Because Luo Qingtong was in trouble, they wanted to burn the bridge after crossing it. The Grand Supreme Dean pointed at the group of people who supported Qingtong with trembling fingers. He was about to curse out loud and reveal the truth. At this moment, Bai Suqing stood up. Wait. Chapter 2026. She emphasized her words, and at the same time, signaled her father to keep quiet. The sect master of the Sky Yuan sect frowned when Qingtong spoke. When a group of elders stood out to speak for Qingtong, he was ready to stand out and announce the real deal to the public. However, he did not expect his daughter to stop him. He looked at Bai Suqing with a helpless expression. He roughly knew what she was going to do. This daughter of his. She had always been fierce, and she had a clear distinction between love and hate. If she was good, she was good. If she was not good, she was not good. She liked Luo Qingtong, and the latter had saved her life, restored her cultivation, and brought Zhu Yi back to her side. She would definitely stand on that girl's side. As for those who helped Qingtong and wanted to burn the bridge after crossing the river, his daughter would not let them off. They would regret it. He shook his head as he thought about it. These people were too eager for quick success. When they saw that Luo Qingtong was useless, they wanted to abandon Su Yu and the others. Who knew that the deal between Luo Qingtong and them was not what they had expected? Forget it, let them be taught a lesson. It was also good to let them know that the decisions they had made were not to be easily questioned. The sect master of the Sky Yuan sect did not speak anymore, and he just watched from the side. After Bai Suqing spoke, Qingtong immediately said, "Of course. Luo Qingtong can't even protect herself now, so the deal is invalid. I believe that everyone has the same thought as me. They are not willing to work for others. All right." Bai Suqing looked at him and sneered, in that case, the deal has become a favor, right? Luo Qingtong promised us before. She will help us if she wants to, and she will not help us if she doesn't want to, right? That's right. Chen Tong agreed, and he looked at Bai Suqing with a puzzled expression. Why did she say this? Could it be that Luo Qingtong could run out and continue to fulfill the deal with them? That was impossible. If she were to appear, the people from Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wouldn't let her off. She couldn't even protect herself, so how could she care about this? As he thought about it, Chen Tong immediately confirmed the idea in his heart. Bai Suqing must be deliberately mystifying them. She wanted them to feel that there was a trap and deliberately retreat. Do you want to use this method to protect Luo Qingtong? Chen Tong sneered and agreed without the slightest hesitation. All right. Bai Suqing looked at him and nodded. Then, she turned to the others and said, Is there anyone on your side who thinks the same as him? Step forward. After everyone who supported Chen Tong stood out, Bai Suqing finally spoke to Su Yu and the others. All right, the deal between the Sky Yuan sect and your master is invalid. Now, you can give the purified celestial jade bones to whoever you want. Those who don't want to trade with you, don't give them a single piece. As soon as Bai Suqing said this, Chen Tong and the people who supported him were stunned. What did you say? Chen Tong looked at Bai Suqing in disbelief. What did Bai Suqing just say? I said the deal is invalid. Bai Suqing snorted coldly when she saw their disbelief. Isn't this what you want? Oh, right, I forgot to tell you. Previously, in order to protect Luo Qingtong, we concealed the fact that the purified celestial jade bones were provided by her. Therefore, in addition to resolving the power of the restricted area for us, Luo Qingtong actually provided us with the purified celestial jade bones in exchange for us to take care of Su Yu and the others and provide them with the celestial jade bones. Of course, you are not willing to provide them with the celestial jade bones. Chapter 2027. Chen Tong and the others almost fainted when they heard what Bai Suqing said. What did she say? The purifying celestial jade bones were provided by Luo Qingtong? The reason why Su Yu and the others stayed in the Sky Yuan sect team was not to take advantage of the Sky Yuan sect as they thought. It was the Grand Supreme Dean who purposely took advantage of the Sky Yuan sect's benefits to do a favor for himself. In exchange for the purifying celestial jade bones. Everyone was shocked. They did not know what kind of stupid thing they had done. The purifying celestial jade bones. In exchange for some celestial jade bones and a chance for Su Yu and the others to stay in the Sky Yuan sect. No matter how they looked at it, this was a good deal. If it were not for the Grand Supreme Dean, Luo Qingtong would not have told the Sky Yuan sect about this, let alone make a deal with them. But now, they had forcefully rejected this deal. Everyone was dumbfounded for a while, and they felt as if the world was spinning around them. Chen Tong was even more confused. He thought that he could take advantage of Luo Qingtong's predicament to make a move on Su Yu and the others. Without the protection of the Sky Yuan sect and without enough celestial jade bones, how could they survive in the graveyard of immortals? However, who would have thought that he would be slapped in the face after 3 seconds of complacency? The person who slapped him in the face was none other than Luo Qingtong, who was not even here. Using the purifying celestial jade bones in exchange for a chance for Su Yu and the others to stay in the Sky Yuan sect, as well as a supply of celestial jade bones. Who would dare to say that they were taking advantage of the Sky Yuan sect? This was clearly letting the Sky Yuan sect take advantage of them. Oh my God! Chen Tong was completely dumbfounded. He did not expect things to turn out this way. If he had not created such a mess, he would have been able to enjoy the purifying celestial jade bones as well. Because Luo Qingtong had made a deal with the entire Sky Yuan sect. But now, it was all over. He had cut off this opportunity himself. It was he who could not wait and had threatened and forced them to cut off this opportunity. He did not even have the chance to accuse the Grand Supreme Dean and the others of taking revenge on him. Because he was the one who had caused this matter. Not only that, but he had also dragged a group of people down with him. Chintong saw the people around him were looking at him. Especially the few elders who were persuaded by him and stood on his side, looking at him with resentful gazes. He instantly rolled his eyes and fainted. There was no other reason than because he had dragged so many people he had been dragged down with him. It was because he had caused the Sky Yuan sect was in the cleansing Celestial Jade sect. Because the Grand Supreme Dean and the others had it. In the future, Chintong's days in the Heavenly Yuan sect would definitely be tough. Not only. After he fainted, Bai Suqing coldly snorted. She looked at Su Yu and the others and said, "Fortunately, your master was considerate and put those purified immortal jade bones on you. We agreed that if you were treated unfairly, the transaction would be cancelled immediately. Chintong is a fool. He thought he could deal with you and force you into a desperate situation. But he didn't know that this was all part of that girl's plan. She can't wait for him to cause trouble. She can torture him to death." Bai Suqing also felt very comfortable in her heart. Chapter 2028. Especially those who targeted the Grand Supreme Dean and Luo Qingtong. Now, it was finally peaceful. And they didn't have to share the purified immortal jade bones with them. It really made people vent their anger. Especially those who stood on Chintong's side. Most of them were on his side, or they didn't get along with her father's opinions. She took the opportunity to deal with them all. And she didn't have to be labeled as someone who eliminated dissidents. Killing two birds with one stone. Her father was soft-hearted, but she wasn't. She would deal with all these people. So that no more trouble would happen during this trip to the Graveyard of Immortals. What happened to Zhu Yi in the Graveyard of Immortals couldn't happen again. The Grand Supreme Dean was dumbfounded as he watched from the side. You guys, he raised his finger and pointed at Bai Suqing. Then, he turned his head and pointed at Su Yu and the others. Then, he lowered his voice and shouted, "Have you all planned this? To think that he was so angry just now. Didn't these people know to tell him?" "Not really." Bai Suqing looked at him and said, "Qingtong was afraid that Chintong would cause trouble, so she specifically said that before she left. But we didn't expect that before we could do anything, he would seek his own death. She suggested that the deal be cancelled, and they didn't fulfill his wish. They felt sorry for themselves. Not only did it save them trouble, but it also made them take the blame. What else could she say when she was full of hatred? That stinky girl, she can't even stop after she left." The Grand Supreme Dean heard this and muttered in his heart. Then, he couldn't help but sigh. "Sigh, do you think something will happen to that girl?" "My heart, sigh." As he spoke, he let out a heavy sigh. Bai Suqing, Su Yu, and the rest were all silent. No one knew if something would happen to Luo Qingtong. There were dangers everywhere in the Graveyard of Immortals, not to mention the people from Beast Taming Valley and Celestial Palace waiting to deal with Luo Qingtong. And the latter wasn't in the same place as them. Even if they wanted to help, they couldn't. At this moment, Su Xiaoxiao's voice suddenly sounded. "Boss will be fine. She'll be fine," she said firmly, "so we have to work hard to improve our strength. When we find Boss, we can protect her by her side." As soon as her voice rang out, everyone's spirits were lifted. That's right, that girl is blessed by the heavens. Nothing will happen to her. Let's go. Let's see if we can find her in this fallen immortal land. The Grand Principal said. Su Yu and the others also nodded their heads and said, "That's right. Master's ability is extraordinary. He will definitely be fine. Moreover, there was still Ming Zun outside. When everyone thought of Yi Qianxian, they immediately calmed down. Ming Zun would definitely not let anything happen to Master. They couldn't sense Master's safety, but Ming Zun definitely could. At that time, if something happened to his master, he would definitely cause a huge commotion, even if he had to go against the entire land of the deceased immortals. As they thought of this, everyone's hearts were filled with confidence. They followed the Sky Yuan sect team into the depths of the land of the deceased immortals. They had to work hard to improve their strength. They definitely wouldn't let down the opportunity Luo Qingtong created for them. Chapter 2029. Bang! Luo Qingtong sent a figure flying out of the ground with her sword. Her blood-red eyes had been open ever since she entered the land of the deceased immortals. As soon as she reached this place, she felt that there was a black shadow following her from underground. She purposely paused and the black shadow rushed out from the ground. It was sent flying by Luo Qingtong's sword which she had been ready to attack. Bang! The dark shadow fell heavily to the ground. Luo Qingtong saw that it was a corpse covered in green hair. The corpse's face was stiff and greenish-black, and its skin was like gold and iron. The green hair covered its body like a layer of green armor. What is this? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She leaped up and nailed the green-haired corpse to the ground with a single blow. The green-haired corpse roared and tried to get up from the ground, but Luo Qingtong accurately smashed its heart. Luo Qingtong wiped the life and death duality sword in her hand. She looked up at the corpse and saw that its clothes were very strange. It didn't look like someone from the hidden world, or even someone from the true Spill continent. It's someone from the outer realms. At this moment, Little Pig jumped onto Luo Qingtong's shoulder. It looked at the green-haired corpse on the ground. It's a corpse of a powerhouse from the outer realms who was eroded by the death energy and evil energy in the land of the deceased immortals. Little Pig said with certainty, the opponent's strength should be above the venerable realm. Otherwise, the corpse wouldn't have been able to survive for so long without rotting. Generally, the corpses that died in the land of the deceased immortals would be affected by the aura of the land of the deceased immortals. They would be eroded and become part of the death energy and evil energy in the land of the deceased immortals. The corpse that was controlled by the blood-red immortal Jade Bone was like this. It was seriously rotten. But powerhouses above the venerable realm were different. They had already glimpsed a trace of the essence of the laws. Even after death, the aura around their bodies could prevent their bodies from decaying. Under the corrosion of the aura of the fallen immortal land, it was equivalent to completing the corpse refining process and being directly transformed into Een corpses. The strength of these Een corpses was not as strong as the main body. They only had about 1/10 of the main body's strength, but the terrifying thing was that they could instinctively use the martial arts and skills they had when they were alive. Moreover, they had no sense of pain, which made them very difficult to deal with in battle. The green-furred corpse Luo Qingtong encountered was probably around the Saint King realm. However, the strength it could unleash was above that of regular Saint Kings. If it hadn't encountered Luo Qingtong, even a peak Saint Emperor would have died under its sneak attack. And as the number of people the Een corpse killed increased, its strength would also continue to increase. In the end, it would turn around and become even more powerful than the original body when it was alive. It was not impossible. After hearing Little Pig's words, Luo Qingtong immediately understood what was going on with this corpse. At first, she thought it was the same as the blood-red corpse that was controlled by the blood-red immortal Jade Bone. She was still vigilantly waiting for the blood-red shadow to pounce out. Unexpectedly, it wasn't like that. This green-furred corpse was a different kind of existence. However, there were really many strange things in the land of the deceased immortals. Chapter 2030. However, this harvest was also real. Luo Qingtong looked at the treasures she got from the green-haired corpse and raised her eyebrows. These foreign experts were powerful, so they naturally had a lot of good things on them. Although many things had been corroded by the aura of the Graveyard of Immortals and the passage of time, many things had been damaged. However, there were still some things left. Luo Qingtong put away the treasures that were damaged in different ways. These things were all treasures above the Venerable Realm. Even if they were damaged, they were still more powerful than ordinary Sage Realm treasures. Luo Qingtong was going to take all these treasures back and give them to Su Yu and Master Luo. If these treasures could be repaired and restored to their original power, it would be even better. However, this was a matter for the future. Luo Qingtong did not think about it for the time being. After putting away these treasures, she looked at the green-haired corpse again. The other party was turned into a yin corpse in the Graveyard of Immortals. What if the corpse puppet was originally a yin corpse? Under the aura of the Graveyard of Immortals, could it be greatly improved? Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong released the corpse puppet of the Great Yong Saint in her hands. This corpse puppet of the Great Yong Saint was refined into a corpse by Feng Wuan's blood. It was very fierce and violent. Luo Qingtong did not dare to release it casually, in case it was not under her control and brought disaster to the world. However, with the improvement of her strength, this corpse puppet was useless, so it had been kept in the 9-story exquisite pagoda. Now, she could use the aura of the Graveyard of Immortals to continue refining and improving it. After all, it was very difficult to find such a place full of death aura and evil aura. Not to mention, the death aura and evil aura contained in this place were very strong. They were all transformed from the essence of the foreign experts after they died. It was very beneficial for the corpse puppet to refine corpses. Swish! Luo Qingtong released the corpse puppet of the Great Yong Saint. After the latter came out, he immediately sensed the dense death qi and evil qi in the land of the fallen immortals. He immediately roared excitedly. Then, it instinctively pounced on the green-haired corpse in front of Luo Qingtong and sucked away all the energy in its body. Then Luo Qingtong saw its strength increase rapidly. It reached the peak of the Holy General Realm and was close to the Holy Marquis Realm. All right. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. Sure enough, the corpse puppet of the Great Yong Saint could easily grow in this environment. Just like that, he rose to the level of a holy general. Once it killed a few more powerful yin corpses, its strength would continue to increase. At that thought, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. With this corpse puppet of a Great Yong Saint, he would have a powerful helper in this Graveyard of Immortals. This corpse puppet could play a huge role, and it was not something an ordinary cultivator could compare to. Luo Qingtong let the corpse puppet of the Great Yong Saint leave by itself to hunt yin corpses nearby. Then, she went into the hole made by the green-haired corpse. Below the hole was a huge underground lair. The green-haired corpse usually hid below, waiting for an opportunity to attack passing practitioners. When Luo Qingtong found it, she had already seen this huge lair. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.